everyone, Christina here. Welcome to day 25 of the Holiday Card Series for 2017. And today I'm going to use the Kitty Stacks stamp set from the Greeting Farm. This is not necessarily a holiday stamp set, but I've had this card design in my head for months. In fact, I've tried to create it multiple times, 3 or 4 times, and it just never worked out. But this time it pulled through. My idea pulled through, and I really like how it turned out. So I'm starting out by stamping all of the cats plus the presents in intense black ink from Simon Says Stamp. I'm going to stamp this multiple times in the same spot so that I get really black solid lines. I have noticed that with my intense black ink, maybe my pad's a little dry or something or whatever, but I don't always get like a really solid line whenever I stamp with it. So generally, I usually like to use my MISTI stamp positioning tool and stamp it multiple times just to darken up those lines and get them nice and solid. So after I stamped the cats and present, I just turned my paper around without removing the stamps from my MISTI and stamped them again. I'm going to be coloring all 10 cats. I actually ended up not using one of them because there wasn't room, but my idea is to have a huge tall stack of cats, and I'm going to put it on a really tall card. So now I'm using Copic markers. I'm going to turn on some music and speed up the video, and I'll catch you when I'm finished.
I worry about the weather, waiting for snow, and each day I feel better, and my hope begins to grow. Been staring out my window, looking for a sign, something to remind me of the place I left behind. My time of the year. There's a feeling I remember from the time when I was young, on the last days of December. Used to live, and we do lots of things I know our folks would not forgive. My time of the year. Oh, I know it's a lot to ask for a day to forever. Could wash my hands, but still would relive my past. My time of the year. My time of the year.
So after all of the coloring was complete and finished, I took some sharp scissors and cut around the edge of all of the images. I just went around really carefully and slowly and fussy cut all of these out. I think there is a coordinating die set for this stamp set, but I think I prefer to cut them out right up next to the line anyway. Next, I took a black brush tip marker and I painted the edges of each of these cutout images. And you've seen me do this multiple times, even within this holiday card series this year. And what that does is it paints the white core of the cardstock and makes it look like you've cut it perfectly right up next to the stamped line. So now I'm going to use some black cardstock and create the backdrop that will go behind the cats. And I decided that I would hand letter the greeting onto this black cardstock. And the greeting I chose is Meowie Christmas. I'm using some Finetec pearlescent paint to do this. This is the silver color. And I'm using a number 2 round watercolor brush. This is from Royal and Langnickel from their Zen line of watercolor brushes. And this one worked really well for the size of lettering that I was doing. By the way, this black cardstock is Onyx Black cardstock from Gina K Designs, and it is cut to 3 1/4 wide by 8 3/4 tall. And I'm going to have my greeting read vertically going up this card so that I can have the stack of cats going along that empty side. So it's actually going to look like this when it's on the card. So I almost forgot to stamp the little carpet that goes underneath the cat at the very bottom of the stack. So I went ahead and stamped that onto some Neenah Solar White cardstock. This is the 80-pound version, and this is the same cardstock I used for the other coloring. So I cut out that little carpet image, and then I used the same black brush tip marker to paint the edges. And this is actually a Memento Tuxedo black marker. So I'm going to put some adhesive on the back of the hand-lettered piece. I'm just using some Tombow Extreme adhesive. This is a really strong adhesive. It's my favorite. It's been my favorite for a while now. I adhered that down onto a white card base. I just cut this white cardstock. This is actually the 110-pound version of the same white cardstock I used for all of the Copic coloring. And I just cut that to 7 inches wide by 9 inches tall, and then scored it at 3 1/2 so that I could fold it in half. So the finished card size is 3 1/2 wide by 9 inches tall. You do not need a special envelope for this. This actually fits inside a standard business envelope. I think it's a number 10 envelope. So if you have any business envelopes hanging around, this card would definitely fit right inside it. I then cut some foam squares and put that behind all the cats and the presents and stacked those so that there would be a few cats and then a couple gifts or a couple presents and then more cats. So all those gifts kind of break up the entire stack of all of these cats. And I did make sure to include Sophie, Daphne, and Manny in this, as well as some cats from my friends. And those friends probably know who they are and they'll recognize their cats. So after I adhered all of the cats and all of the presents, I decided to add a few details onto the presents. So I got out that Finetec palette once again and grabbed the silver color, and I added some dots on one present, some stripes on another, and then I did some large dots on this present up here at the top. And this just gave the presents a little bit more interest, made it a little bit more whimsical, I think. I also took a clear sparkle pen from Spectrum Noir and added some shimmer and sparkle onto the gifts where I did not add any additional detail. And that really kind of finishes up the card for today and for the holiday card series. It's been a joy sharing this entire series with all of you, and I'm kind of glad that it went all the way up almost until Christmas Day. I think it was just really fun this year to see how all 25 cards came together. So even though the holiday card series is done for this year, I still will be sharing cards for the rest of the year up through New Year's and into next year as well. So if you were loving these cards, stick around. I have plenty more inspiration coming your way. And thank you so much for your support, and I'll see you guys next time.